Okay. Nice. Okay. Walking on quicksand, don't you know? See. Put this back up. Yeah. Mute that. Okay, this is a Ecclesiasticus. I made up my mind. And I'm going to clear up some skull stuff from the end of the last broadcast. I figured out the skull thing. It's just the three main kinds of skulls. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham. That's why they even have the hams made the way they are, as circular as possible. But the Hamite head is the cop head. That's why I like some of the best cops are those big, giant, real dark dudes. My favorite cops are black guys. I mean, like the best cops are the big black ladies that are the cops. Ooh, I like me one of them. But yeah. So then the Japheth has the longer skull, but see, there's one in between. It's not quite elongated. It's not quite just the circular, kind of like Homer. Um, it's in between, and so the Hamite is the one who Noah, who I think probably had a very, very large head that kind of had that shape that kind of goes up a bit. Because I want to try to get into it, but there's a lot of it's where these genetic strains came from. But I believe he did it. So then people tried to keep that trait in an evil way and make it come out. You know what I mean? They they were materialistic and they thought that their skull shape was superior. Like, oh, it came from Noah, so you know what I mean? And so now a lot of these like big leaders and stuff, Noah type people, people who gather people into arcs, have skulls like that. So, no, they're aliens. I'm like, no, they're not aliens. Good lord. Sometimes, like I said, tribes would put contraptions, like the nobility, so-called nobility, the royal family would try to put contraptions on the head because they thought if the head was taller, that their mind would reach the heavens. But you see, it's exactly what I said about the shamanistic. Well, shaman is actually good. The sorcerer, the black magic. Why is there even a dark an evil magic? It's like because the word magic itself isn't evil. It's a pattern of power. The evil way of doing a pattern of power with your mouth is the evil magic. You see how the sorcery, which is what it says in the scriptures, and the formaticos, which is the drug sorcery, or what is mainly put in scripture. And divination, dividing spirits, trying to talk to something that's already dead. You're not supposed to talk to it. That's why it's not there. Uh, I mean, it's things that should be very obvious from the start. Oh, let me pull the chat up real quick here. Okay, so Hamites would make, and remember, Hamites are light skin, dark skin, all kinds of people. It's usually Japheth who isn't very dark because Japheth is us versus them, so it's going to express a more singular phenotype and skin color. It's just how it is. That's why it's broad, like Noah said. Noah said, "He shall be broad." You see how their skull shape came from their mentality, not the other way around? So they all were sons of Noah. They probably had a evenly expanded skull, maybe even a little bit raised at the top, which is a type of awareness, but not like the cone that they inbred it into. These people that Mr. Burns is based off of one of the Rothschilds. I forgot which one. But you look at pictures of them until one of them looks exactly like Mr. Burns, and you're like, oh yeah, it's that one. I think his name was actually Joseph. Probably because he got the skull shape they wanted, and they're like, may he add, is what Joseph is. They want more of those skulls. They think the skulls do something to him. It only tells you how to. It only tells somebody who's of scripture how to deal with the person to better explain to them how to put on Messiah. When you put on Messiah, it doesn't matter. You can be missing limbs. It doesn't matter. You put on Messiah, and that transcends all that stuff. So it's a very Japhethite thing to go around measuring people's heads. So these are probably tribe of Ashkenaz claiming to be another tribe. Remember, I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude, trying to tell you something. Because Robert Downey Jr., they all like having three names because they think they're special. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, all these guys. There's a reason they have three names. So Shem is in between Ham and Japheth. He's like the mediator. That's why the mediator, what do? You have to have really good language to be the mediator. So what do? You preserve what came from Adam. And Shem did that. But remember, his skull shape came out of how he wore Messiah. The Hamite, what? Okay, so Noah, the whole world was destroyed by the flood. Think about that. Put yourself in that place. And then, after the whole world being destroyed, and Noah being the one, your father was the one who got saved, and you only got saved because you were his children, and his wife only got saved because she was his wife, and his daughter-in-laws only got saved because they were his daughter-in-laws. So when they came out, this man Noah made a vineyard because he wanted some grapes, and then he's like, I'm gonna drink some wine. I think I deserve it. I mean, I think he did. And he probably sat there sipping and thinking about everything that happened. And when you're kind of thinking about, the entire world being wiped out and you being responsible with what Adam had, you keep sipping it and you keep sipping it, and you just maybe drink it too fast, so you go in your tent and it's really hot, because you drank it too fast, and it's wine. Anybody who's drank a lot of wine knows what. I mean, I drank a lot of wine before, and I'm like, oh man, it's hot. And so he took his robe off and he passed out his tent. Who would go in his tent without saying something? Somebody who didn't have awareness of other people. So he just comes in unannounced, Ham, and sees him naked. He's like, oh, Dad's naked. Oh, Paul's naked. I'm going to tell my bro. So he goes outside. Remember, he's a white guy. His skin is light. All of Noah's son skin are light. It depended on where they wanted to live. A lot of Hamites got dark. Why? Because they went to the desert and endured themselves to the sun, thinking nobody's going to come out here and bother me. And then I don't have to worry about keeping myself warm because there's always sunlight. It's a very Hamitic place to live. Japhethite can live in the cold. He just has to be more violent, meaning eat more meat, wear more skin. All the mentality's there. Who's in the middle? What was it? I got something to the left of me, something to the right, stuck in the middle with you. I should look up those lyrics because that's probably a Semitic song. Let's see here. Stuck in the middle. There's a song by Steelers Wheel. If you put those two words together. All right. Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I've got the feeling that something ain't right. Situational awareness. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair, lose my reputation, Shem. And I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me. That's somebody who just thinks of themselves. They're very expressive, right? Clowns. Jokers to the right. That's the Japheth. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. You see? You gotta mix it in there. Just the right amount. Let's see. Try to make sense of it all. Let's try to understand your whole world and who created it. But I can see it makes no sense at all. Meaning the physical world doesn't matter. Very Semitic. Remember, it's not genetic. It's not physical. It was just carried through word of mouth. That's why the word Messiah word. It is cool to go to sleep on. Is it cool to go and sleep on the floor? Because I don't think I can take any more. It's literally Jacob put a rock under his. It's Jacob, right? Yeah, Jacob put a rock under his head. He's laying on the desert floor. That is weird. Get down the stairs. So, I mean, can't make this stuff up. Golgotha means place of the skull. Why? Because Adam's skull was probably Semitic, meaning it was equally expanded. Then people started getting mentalities, Japheth mentalities, Hamitic mentalities, sorcerer mentalities of their heads expanding like cones. But there's some whose head expanded evenly. It's a little bit up this way, a little bit out this way, and a little bit out this way, all evenly. See, and that still doesn't save them, right? But it's an expression genetically. Children will all have a Hamitic head, usually, when they come out. They'll have a Hamitic or a Japhethite head. Or in between, because of their genetics, but sometimes they even come out expressing more of something. And then, if you have this information, you know how to deal with your children because you know it has nothing to do with skin color. It's nothing to do with ethnicity or anything. It's 3 descendants of Noah. That's it. It's not anything evil. It's just this is how their spiritual, mental, society activities literally change the shape of their noses, ears, skulls, chins. People, there's tribes that put discs in their lips and their ears. There's people who, like I said, when they take their children and they put their heads in devices to try to shape their skull because they're trying to do something weird. You know what I mean? That's not where it's at. That's why they always fail. And then this poor child became like a psychopath or something because they made his head all shaped weird. And their intent was there already. So the person was meant to be tested that way. It doesn't doom them to anything. You see? So I'm about to read the 3rd chapter of Genesis that talks about the fall, where they couldn't even see first they didn't have this skull thing, Adam and Eve, or Adam and Eva. But they couldn't see themselves that well. It didn't matter. Everything was external, so you didn't have to look within. Scripture is so anti looking within that it even tells you that Adam and Eve, their eyes weren't open. See, that to go to looking within, because they didn't need to. It was all external, so they didn't know they were naked. And that's why God's like, "Who told you you're naked?" It's not like he didn't know. He's just questioning them. It's very judicial. See what they say about it. Are they gonna lie? So, what's I going over here? So I have these different skulls here, and then I put some different faces of like the cone heads. That's why they have those aliens in that Saturday Night Live clip, the Coneheads. Astronauts to the moon. You know, the Coneheads. So Golgotha is the place of the skull because traditionally they believe that Adam's skull is somewhere in the rock underneath that hill. That's why it's called the place of the skull. That's why you have skull and bones. These people are only about the first dimension or the second dimension or the third dimension. That's why they're usually about death. They don't have a lot of hope for the next life. If they do, it's something very materialistic and twisted. So I also figured out, and why I thought that um, Noah's skull might have been a little bit higher up than usual, but not like the sorcerer cone head, which is probably why they have the sorcerer hat as the cone. It's hiding something. Or they're trying to get some kind of vortex going. This is how these people think. Uh, when you hear about the white ape of the mountain, like the myth, the legend of the white ape of the mountain, like that's Noah. It's a white, blue-eyed ape. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, the cop of the mountain. He's it, like the song Big John. It's wide at the shoulder and narrow hip. Everybody knew you don't give no lip to Big John. You see, he looks like an ape, but he's like a cop. He ends up saving everybody at the end if you listen to the Big John song. But it's hard to know what his morals are because somebody disrespected his woman or something, and he give a big right hand and send a young Louisiana man to the promised land, Big John or something like that. Where it's like, yeah, he just killed some guy. It's like, oh, you disrespect my woman. It's like a big feeder log. But yeah, the white ape is Noah because traditionally this guy was white haired, white skin, white eyes, white beard. Like how albinos are, but with a beard and white eyes. Like the iris is white with the black people. Have you ever seen the contacts with the white iris and the black people? It's pretty frightening, isn't it? Like it makes them look very odd. So this was a giant man, who knows how tall, kind of has that body type, that big body type. His head is like this big, it's kind of like a little bit up, almost like a gorilla, and he's in the mountain. He's like 800, 700 years old. It's like, don't go up into the mountain. The old man lives there. He can stare at you and kill you with his eyes. But who probably went up there? It's Abraham. Shem outlived Abraham. Gotta emphasize that over and over and over again. Shem outlived Abraham by 35 years. After Shem died, that's when all the stuff happened where his brothers weren't unified. Why? Because now the big dog's dead. You don't have to listen to anybody anymore. That's what happens. That's how you know it's not just a myth. Oh, it's the age of Shem. It's like, no, no, no. Shem was alive. He's a giant dude who had a reputation. He lived like 600 years. 600 years. It's not as long as it sounds. So, you got all this stuff in scripture about skulls, right? And the division brings different kinds of skulls. There's even people who worship idols of like an elephant, and then their children will come out with a deformity, or they worship a monkey and they'll get like one of those little tails. But instead of realizing that it's trying to say your idols are this harmful to your society, they just think the baby's a god and they start worshiping the baby. And it's like, oh great. Now it's like you're just corrupting this child to think he's a god all its life. That's crazy. So I'll just start reading Because I was going to bring something up, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bring it up. We'll see what happens. Bereshith. Shith. Sith. The front. Top ones. Scythians claim to be from Noah. That's why a lot of them, that's where you get platinum blonde. Natural platinum blonde is from Noah. So people will try to save genetics, which often makes weird genetic stuff because it's obviously ancestral. That's the only reason why they gave limits in the Torah, was so that people wouldn't think that their genetics made them superior, and that because the Egyptians would marry their own children in order to keep a royal bloodline. This is documented historical fact. And when the Ptolemies were in Egypt, they started doing that also, and kind of revived old Egyptian ways, pharaonic ways, I should say, Mitzrayim, not the modern Egypt you know of. So we talked last time, it was all about the first two chapters, and so he had just made man and woman and gave them authority and dominion. So the Nachash was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Jehovah Elohim had made. So it's interesting that the second chapter, when he starts getting to man, the fifth dimension, is when Yehovah is mentioned. And even the name Yehovah is made up of the vowels that help you pronounce the language. So it's even the name reflects what Messiah is supposed to be, because Messiah is a reflection of Yehovah. So he's the language. Yehovah is the unknown, the unpronounceable. That's why he's made up of the vowels. He creates the word Messiah to fill the need of what is going to be created. Because remember, what he created, he needs to create a habitat for it, because whatever he creates is going to be not him. So whatever is not him needs a creation for things that are not him. And since it seemed like his desire to make things like him, there was one type, Adam, that he chose to grow into the closest you can get to Elohim, which is the fifth dimension. It's the reflection of the infinite dimensional. So you have the virtually infinite. Fifth dimension is virtually infinite. Elohim is the infinite dimensional. So the Nahas is typically a serpent, but it really means divination and all kinds of different things. So the reason they call it the serpent is because when it's cursed, its curses sound like a serpent. So that's why they translate as serpent, because the context of it demands serpent rather than the divination was cursed to crawl on the floor and eat dust. How is divination crawl on the floor and eat dust? It's like, I mean, they're trying to contact the second dimension, which is right underneath the soil, right underneath the crust. So, I mean, figuratively, yeah, but that's actually very interesting. Nachash was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Jehovah Elohim had made, and he said to the woman, "Is it true?" So he's questioning reality. There's nothing wrong about that, but he should be listening. He's asking the superior, is this what was actually said? The superior is supposed to be able to give an answer, or else it shouldn't be superior, right? That's why it's called the fall. He said to the woman, "Is it true that Elohim said, 'Do not eat of every tree in the garden'?" See, he makes it sound, that's how people are who are against scripture. Like I had a comment once where like, isn't there a part of scripture where God just makes chicken come out of people's noses? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I guess it was the part with the quail or something. And it's like, yeah, if you ever eat a bunch of garlic, it starts coming out in your sweat. And if your nose is running in your nose, um, you urinate. Your urine smells like garlic. So these people, God said, I'll give you so much quail that it'll come out of every orifice of your body. It'll come out of your nose and it'll be loathsome to you. You won't be able to stop smelling it because you've been so cleansed by the manna that to put something else in your body like that right away, it's just gonna fill every part of your body and you won't like it. It's not gonna process it as good. I mean, Most High warns people before it happens. And they didn't care when he provided them with it. They ate it too fast, and before they even swallowed it, though, their intent was to just gorge on it. So he didn't even let them gorge on it. The ones that had the craving and complained. So that's the kind of attitude. Oh, did he really? Did he say you can't eat any tree of the garden? Jeez, what a tyrant! It's like you're in paradise. What's going on here? You gotta understand the psychology going on. And the woman said to the Nahash, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it nor touch it, lest you die. See, that's why sometimes they try to say in the midst is in the center. Sometimes it does mean that. But in the midst might even imply that it was a very large tree that overshadowed or something a lot of area. And then in the center maybe is where the fruit was. I don't know. But it doesn't have to mean within. It just means center of sometimes. Or within your grasp, see, is like if you pick something from a tree. So maybe it was more like a bush. Maybe it was a tree where the fruit hung really, really low, and it was like a figurative thing, very, very, very low hanging fruit, and everything else was taller. Could have been something like that. All whatever visual way God made it. Um. So she says, "Do not eat of it or touch it, lest you die." She's adding a little bit more to it, but seemingly in a good way. Mm-hmm. And then the Nahash said to the woman, you shall certainly not die, for Elohim knows. So now this thing, that's a creature, right? As far as we know, it's a creature, it's a serpent. How does it know what God knows? It's not even fully as three-dimensional as the human is. And in this case, they're wearing Messiah, so it's like they're fifth dimensional. This third dimensional thing is telling a fifth dimensional thing what God knows, and somehow it doesn't know it's being tricked. It's almost like it's just using the snake as a scapegoat to do it, right? Oh, the snake, oh, he told me. But she wanted it. She doesn't want to reach up to get fruit. You see how paradise can make you lazy? I bet you all it meant by in the midst of the garden means it was the tree that had the most low hanging fruit. It'd be the laziest people who get that. I mean, the best fruit you gotta like climb up a banana tree. Bananas are great. You ever try to mulberry trees? A lot of times, depending on how old they are, they're really tall. You gotta climb it. You gotta get a ladder or something. Sometimes a branch can be hanging down, but the best stuff you gotta. So that's what I think in the midst actually means. And so Messiah's message would be the antithesis of this tree. His burden is light, his yoke is easy. You see? It's the antithesis to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So he tries to say what Elohim knows. He goes, in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. See, that's the truth. But you don't, if you're already perfect, you don't need to look within. It's Elohim through Messiah clothes you. You don't have to look within. And so basically this serpent was saying, you'll be like God, being able to look within. You don't need to be able to look within anybody or yourself if you're wearing Messiah and you're one. You know what I mean? So that's how he fooled him. It's like, oh, it's a half truth. You won't just drop dead, but you'll be less fifth and fourth dimensional now. And so your bodies aren't preserved. You're not wearing, it's like, imagine a fruit that's clothed with something that keeps it perpetually fresh, and then now it's not clothed with it. That's basically what it is. And the woman saw, see, now her perception has changed. The woman saw that the tree was good for food. That's physical, materialistic. That it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. Why would she need to know more? She already has everything. You see how it represents government also? And a government is within one individual's choice. All life came from her, or all people. And she's called the mother of all because that's why women could be so good with animals, like taking care of chickens and all kinds of stuff. Because Eve was called the mother of all living. She is where all humans came from, but she's also government, the mother of all living. That's why governments sometimes have zoos. So the woman saw that the tree was good for her and pleasant in the eyes. She took the fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband who was with her, not doing anything apparently, and he ate. See how he was watching her, like he wanted to eat it, but he's like, oh, let's just see her eat it, see what happens. She ate it and she didn't drop dead, so he's like, oh, cool, I mean, I'll eat it. See how that works? They all wanted to eat it. They just needed uh they needed something to blame. See, that's why the Most High says to live blamelessly. Does that mean you never sin again or that you never sin? No, it means that you don't blame anybody for your sin. You're saying you're blameless. And the more you don't blame other people, and the more they can't blame you, the more ridiculous it sounds when they blame you for something. That's what blameless means. It doesn't mean that you don't have any sin. It just means that's why Noah was blameless. No one could say anything about Noah. And Noah didn't blame anybody for his problems. Probably didn't have many problems. He lived in the mountains. And they became Anatola, the testimony, La, Anatola, the testimony and mark of the scholar. That would be Noah. Because in ship, it would mean something like the old man of the mountain. It's like, yeah. Because it's probably an Egyptian thing that started the rumor. Like, oh, it's the old man of the mountain. He's going to curse you with his eyes. Don't go over there. And then the other side was testimony of the mark of the scholar. They would go to him because they're like, he's a scholar. I want to learn from him. See the different perceptions? The fear brings Japhethite and Hamite. Not fear brings Shem, but Shem can then take this knowledge and use it for good or evil. That's where you get Gandalf and Saruman. So basically, Noah looked similar to Gandalf, but with white. His irises were white. and he's probably like 20 feet tall, or just really, really big. And you see how much you maintain a physical ability is how long it stays. So there's like giant people who could help people. Then there's giants who can be evil. When they're evil, what happens? They enslave people. What happens when they enslave people? They get lazy. What happens to their children? Their children are weaker and smaller than them. If they have consciousness of this enough, then they'll work out their bodies. And those are the even most dangerous ones if they're evil. Because Colossus, what I was talking about, could mean something good or bad. But it's also telling you that the giant is actually weak. You have to watch those episodes to know what I'm saying. Because I gotta do this. I don't want to spend too much time on other things. So her husband wasn't watching her. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew. See, their pupils probably got more dilated or something. And now their within is more opened. That actually leaves you more vulnerable when your within is opened, because the eyes are portal to the soul, right? So if the irises are opened, they see inside themselves more. And that's the bad. It's like, oh, I'm naked. I'm nothing. The inside is nothing. You have to put on Messiah. And they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. See, it's like the fruit on the trees aren't covered, and you're covering it. It just shows how unnatural it started off with. And they heard the voice of Yehovah Elohim. They heard the voice of Yehovah Elohim walking about in the garden. See, God himself doesn't walk. He can move, but so it's describing Messiah. But he walks in the name, so he represents him. He represents the unseen. Walking about in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yehovah Elohim among the trees of the garden. See, that's more patsies. Remember, trees are kind of a symbol for man in general. So it's almost like a reflection of trying to find a patsy or a scapegoat. Oh, this guy told me to do it. They're hiding behind trees. This, like, Saul was trying to hide behind the people. He's like, oh, the people made me do it. And Samuel's like, no, 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 no. The people didn't make you do it just as much as the trees didn't make Adam and Eve do it. You understand? That's animism. They're like, oh, the trees made me do it. It's like, what are you talking about? The trees made you do it. What are you hiding behind the trees for? Come out of here. Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? It's like, this is strange behavior. What's going on? Why aren't you at the appointed spot? You see how a situation changes perception? And now it's like, did he do something wrong? He can know that, but there's a judicial process. Just like, let me continue. And Adam said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. So looking within yourself actually makes you hide yourself from God. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat? So he's asking him to give account. So now he's giving account, saying, the woman whom you gave to be with me, he's blaming God. She gave me of the tree and I ate. And Yehovah Elohim said to the woman, what is this that you have done? Then the woman said, Nachash deceived me, or the serpent deceived me, and I ate. They're all just blaming somebody else. They're not blameless. And Yehovah Elohim said to Nachash, because you have done this, so he doesn't ask the Nachash because it's not human. That's how you know it's a serpent also, because it's like, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go and eat dust all the days of your life. See how even this creature's decisions affected how its descendants look and what its descendants have to struggle with. Isn't that interesting? Because animals are made for our instruction, just like trees or anything else. Everything's made for our instruction, and then the word is made for our destruction. What do you print the word on? Trees. Okay. On your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. I put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. So basically, this is two types of people, too. They're ankle biters. Not Jacob, who does the heel thing. They're ankle biters. So they'll always try to bite your ankles or your toes like a spider would or any of these things. But you shall be able to crush the head, which crushes the whole thing. 1 second. Because usually animals or insects that nip at your toes and your heels are small enough that you can crush them with your entire foot. And that's what happens when you crush anything's head, is you might as well be crushing its entire body. So there's a mentality too, is that they might nip at your heels all the time, but you will always psychologically, with your words and truth, communication wise, you will always crush its head, which is its ideology. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and your conception. Bring forth children in pain, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. Some translations is your desire is contrary to your husband, and he does rule over you. So that's more accurate, because if the woman's the government, then the man would be the leader of the government. And what is the biggest curse on mankind is that the government doesn't want to go along with the leader, but the leader always exercises authority anyway. It's the whole dynamic of rebellion and all that stuff. So increase your sorrow and your conception, bring forth children in pain. So now your sorrows increase, because when she has children, they're going to eventually die. And pain in conception, because she's birthing something that already has sin in it inherently. When you eat healthy food and then you go to the, I'll say it this way. When you eat healthy food and you go to the bathroom, it's all good, right? If you eat the wrong stuff, it could be very painful. So, same thing. It was a spiritual thing. Now there's pain when bringing forth children. It shouldn't be that. Shouldn't be any sorrow. And then their desire is contrary to their husbands. They don't want to do what they're told, but he still rules over them. It's just like the government. They don't want to do, the people don't want to do what they're told, but they still submit to the rules, right? And to the man he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, in other words, democracy, literally. Because you listen to democracy and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it, because democracy means you can vote out or in whatever morals you want, depending on what people feel at the time. That's how it works. It's not rule of law. The tree I commanded you, saying, do not eat of it, cursed is the ground because of you, and toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life, and the ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles for you. See, it brings division and it stops production. And you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you are to eat bread until you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you return. See, now he has to remind them what they are without him. Oh, if you look inside, it's just death. It's what you have without Elohim. So the only time you should really look inside is to know what you have without Elohim. There's nothing new or positive that you can find. It's literally just guts and black stuff. The first and second dimension. Like that's why that scene in The Simpsons was so funny. What's inside of you? Guts and black stuff. Yeah, black stuff, first dimension, and guts, second dimension. That's it. All right. I mean, animals have it. When you say look within, it's the same. It's not quite the same, but it's basically the same. Like you're only gonna find an animal. We're supposed to be an animal clothed in Elohim's consciousness. It's not our own consciousness. We're just given a choice. We're unique in that we have a choice, but we wouldn't have consciousness at all if we weren't connected to God. That's why the more further away you get from him, the more crazy these people become. All right, by the sweat of your face, and the man called his wife's name Havah because she became the mother of all living. She became the mother of all living. She didn't give birth to everything. She gave birth to all sons and daughters of Adam, not to the animals, but she was the mother of all the animals, or the mom at least. Waters, ma'am. And women are really good at doing that, feeding the animals, giving them water. Mother of all living. They have to be on a farm or else they're not complete. And then on top of that, they need to have a child or else they're not going to feel complete. Some women can be in the worst situations ever and they have one child and they feel complete. They're in the worst situation ever. And they still feel complete because they're doing what they're supposed to. That's why you see these women in Africa or something, they're working the ground and they have like 5 children. It's like, God bless them. Jeez. All right. And Yehovah Elohim made coats of skin for the man and his wife and dressed them to remind them, don't look within. Put these clothes on. Like if looking within is so great, try to walk around naked. People are going to have a lot of mixed opinions. Guarantee you that. And Yehovah Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us. Remember, the us is a majestic thing. That's when royals address, they say us, even though it's them, because they're insinuating that Elohim gives them their authority, which hopefully they do have real authority. And if they don't, then you got a problem. So he dressed them, and Yehovah Elohim said, see the man, okay, no good and evil, and now lets he put out his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. See, being able to look within is a state that it's horrible enough for God to not even want to say the whole sentence. And, if you were to do this and live forever, and it just stops there, he doesn't say what will happen. It's infinite horror would happen. That's why you can't even say it, because it's like it's just infinite horror would come out of that. So Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the garden, out of Eden, to till the ground for which he was taken, and he drove out the man. That's Masha. And he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. Oh, that's what it means, that movie. Every which way but loose, you turn me every which way but loose. It's like saying you've placed a cherubim in front of your Garden of Eden, taking me every which way but loose. To the tree of life. That's funny. So that movie is all about like probably, wow, that movie is probably like a manifestation of God trying to redeem the government of mankind, personified in a woman, and he's got this sidekick that's a monkey, where the monkey, where he says right turn, the right arm is the arm of uh, honor. So it's like a joke where it's like, look, God can tell a monkey every time he needs to turn right, and he'll do it. Why can't you listen to him? You turn me every which way but loose. That's crazy. Anyway, that's a cheesy movie, but it's not a bad one. All right, over here. I'll probably keep going. Um, I'll do chapter 4. I don't know. I don't know if I can do that much today. You know what? I should do the genealogy of Adam. I'll do that. Part 2 and 3. Probably take 2 parts to do it. And then that's what I'll do today. And then talk about the skulls and stuff, because place of the skull is they rumored to be Adam's skull under there. It'd be very interesting if Adam was buried there, and then that's where Messiah uh, completed what God told him to do. So, oh, there's Cain. So the next one will be Cain's genealogy, and then Adam's. I don't know if I can do that all in one day. That's hard. Let's try. So I'm going to come back with chapter 4 and then chapter 5. Wait a minute. Chapter 4 is Cain's line. Chapter 5 is Adam to Noah. 45 is the 45th president. That's very interesting. There are no coincidences. 44 death's door, right? There's Cain just repeating it again. It's like you have the testimony of Cain and you repeated it. 44 death's door. You had the testimony of Cain and Adam, and you repeat the testimony of Cain and Adam to Noah, and you still lose, right? Let me see really quick. And the 8th chapter is when Elohim remembered Noah, and it's about the waters receding, and that's supposed to be death and renewal. And it starts off with an alien. See, the people who put these chapters together, they say they're Jesuits, but these could have been people trained in a certain way. Some of these numbers are very interesting. There's a reason why that one guy, wasn't it Sir Isaac Newton, I think, that tried to do that, find patterns in the numbers. But remember, math is just complementary. It's just a moon. So the numbers in the Bible, whoever put the numbers in scripture, were putting a moon in there, not a sun. You understand? They're putting some kind of guide to maybe focus your perception on something more. And see how people get people even like me to think that they had evil intent? You don't have to have evil intent to put chapter 9 verse 11 as destruction, because you've seen patterns of nines. Remember, 9 is when you go past the 8, and 11 is let's see right here. Let's see, 9 is the Teth, right? And 11 would be the calf, outstretched needy hand in the vortex of 2. 9/11 would be Teth, which is 2 lameds that look like this. 2 lameds back to back with a vortex in the middle. 11 would be calf, an outstretched hand looking to be filled. But then there's more in the roots. It's too crazy. I can't do it all. So there's stuff I'll probably skip. There's hundreds of times I'll probably skip things the next couple months because it's like I can't go over everything. So that's what I'll do. So when you have 88, 88 is supposed to be like mastery in something. Some claim it's like time travel. The sun and the moon both make a figure 8 in the sky. So 88 is the sun and moon, fourth dimension. And mastering the moon of scripture, and the sun. A little bit of the sun's in scripture, but you can't get the sun in scripture according to Messiah. You have to get through faith. Why? Because we're supposed to have faith that the sun's going to come back when it goes away. That's why there's so much symbolism. It's like just because the symbolism uses what's in creation to explain it, that doesn't make it pagan. It's so ridiculous how people can... I can't do this. And then 6, of course, is when men began to increase on the earth and the wickedness increased. You have 66. So dual 33s. 33 is all of the physical knowledge. Why do you think it's the 3rd chapter that they eat of the tree? You understand why the 33 and the 66 is sacred to these people? Because the 33 is when they ate of the tree. 66 would be them having the testimony. Do you understand? 3, having the testimony of them eating the tree. 33 is doing it anyway. Like it says the dog returns to its vomit, all that stuff. That is wild. And the 7 is when he tells them to come into the ark, and he actually saves them. And 7 is supposed to be spiritual completion and everything. 77. That is crazy. And he's bringing 2 by 2 of all the animals. So that's procreation. And the 777 is supposed to be procreation, but they use it as like a... Aleister Crowley uses it as like a dark, inappropriate magic. I'll say it like that. I don't want to be too... It's supposed to be a scripture reading. I mean, there's probably some parts of scripture that are pretty descriptive, I'll say that. We're about at an hour, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do chapter 4 and 5. For an hour each. It might be hard, but I think I can do it. So let me get that out right now. I have Adam's genealogy, and where's Cain at? There he is. See, I have him. Adam to Noah here. And Cain. Minus Cain plus. That's cool. Hopefully I can get through these. I might not be able to, though. Might have to do them in 2 parts. Who knows? I don't have to do them all in one day. We'll see what happens. Anyway, the wind blows. Okay. Billy by your watch we go. Walking on quicksand, walk slow. Billy by what you say. Figure get you these days.